across the world. Brands like Toyota, Rolls-Royce, Mercedes-Benz, Ford, Fiat, and Hyundai have been flag bearers for their respective countries. By the early 1990s, India had launched spacecraft and missiles, but it did not have a car that it could call its own. A car that had been designed, developed, and produced within the country. Would India ever have that car worthy of its national stature and pride? Ratan Tata, who was then chairman of the Tata Group and Tata Motors, stood up in 1995 to express his ambitions for the nation. He said, "We'll have a car with the Zen's size, the Ambassador's internal dimensions, the price of a Maruthi 800, and with the running cost of diesel." Many skeptics and naysayers refused to believe in an Indian car. But Mr. Tata was determined. He and his team forged ahead with the Tata Indica. Indeed, the name of this car, Indica, spelled pride in the nation. In many ways, this courageous decision brought to mind the determinations of Jamsetji Tata more than a century ago to create India's first integrated steel plant. At that time, he had to override the cynical reaction of the British, who thought that Indians could never make their own steel. Now, history was repeating itself. If the Indica was to be world-class, its design had to be comparable with the best. Skilled and passionate engineers from the Engineering Research Center of Tata Motors, Pune, undertook this exciting challenge in association with the Turin-based design house IDEA. The car had to be futuristic and sleek in its design, but it also had to rise to Ratan Tata's challenge of providing enough space for an Indian family. The transmission system was developed entirely in-house, adding new capabilities to a company that had no background in cars. When the design for the Tata Indica was eventually unveiled, the reactions it elicited were euphoric. Everyone agreed that it was clearly ahead of its time. It was very distinctive compared to the other cars of that period and had unmistakable international appeal. This was breakthrough styling, and we knew it as soon as we saw it. Was the spontaneous reaction of many shop floor engineers at Tata Motors. Then there was the question of the car manufacturing facility itself. A new manufacturing unit could have cost more than $2 billion at that stage, a huge amount that possibly would have rendered the project a non-starter. Here again, Ratan Tata and his team at Tata Motors took a road less traveled, and it ended up making all the difference. They searched around the world and found a disused Nissan plant in Australia, which was offered to them for sale at barely 1/5 of the cost of a new plant. Engineers of Tata Motors carefully dismantled this plant, brick by brick, carried it across the seas, and rebuilt it in Pune. It took just 6 months to accomplish this Herculean task. The Tata Indica was manufactured not just with technological precision, but also with great pride and love. Ratan Tata used to visit the Indica manufacturing facilities quite often. On one such early visit, he noticed operators fixing the rear strut of the car manually. The operator would have to bend down 600 times to complete this operation on 300 cars each day. Ratan Tata called his managers immediately. How can we expect our men to do this throughout their lives? Surely it will damage their health. We must provide an automation solution on priority. The engineering department rose to the occasion and quickly developed a fixture to semi-automate the operation. Operators remember this fondly even today. The Tata Indica was launched in 1998 to fabulous bookings and response, but it soon encountered several engineering and quality problems, uneven tire wear, belt noise, and defective pulleys, which came in for a lot of criticism. Consumer complaints escalated, and rival companies began to write premature epitaphs for the Indica. There is, of course, no dearth of condescending minds, both Western and Indian, that never miss an opportunity to take pot shots at India and other developing nations. In the midst of this